The diplomatic station floated in the darkness of space like a massive metal flower. Its name was Ashara's crown, and it was the place where different alien species came to talk, argue, and make deals. Today, something unusual was happening. A human was coming to help solve a big problem. Day one stepped off the transport ship and into the main hall. He was not tall or impressive. He wore simple gray clothes that looked boring, next to the colorful robes and armor of the aliens around him. His face showed no emotion. His dark eyes moved slowly across the room, taking in every detail, every face, every exit. But to everyone watching, he just looked like another weak human. Behind him walked Hana, young woman with nervous energy. She carried data tablets and kept looking at her notes. She would be doing most of the talking, most of the work. That was fine with Daewon. He preferred to watch and listen. That is Earth's representative. A deep voice rumbled through the hall. It belonged to Velos, the station's security chief. He was a Scraith, a species that looked like walking reptiles covered in thick scales. Velos stood nearly 8 feet tall, with sharp teeth and claws that could cut through metal. He laughed, a sound like rocks grinding together. They send us a mouse to stop a war. Other aliens joined in the laughter. The VIX delegates clicked their mandibles in amusement. The VIX looked like giant insects with 4 arms and compound eyes that saw in every direction. They were known for being fierce warriors who never backed down from a fight. Daewon said nothing. He simply walked to his assigned quarters with Hana following close behind. Sir, they're not taking us seriously, Hana whispered once they were alone. I know, Daewon replied quietly. His voice was soft, almost gentle. Should we do something? Make a statement? No, let them think what they want. Hana bit her lip but nodded. She had only worked with Daewon for 3 months. He confused her. He never raised his voice, never seemed angry or excited. He just watched everything with those calm, dark eyes. She wondered if he was really the right person for this job. The next morning, the negotiations began. The meeting room was huge, with a round table that could seat 50 delegates. The Scraith sat on one side, the VIX on the other. Between them was generations of hatred and mistrust. They were fighting over a border region rich in valuable minerals. Both sides claimed it. Both sides were willing to kill for it. Daewon sat at the head of the table. Next to him was Yura, Earth's cultural adesh. She was older than Hana, with sharp intelligence in her eyes. She had studied alien customs for 20 years. Gentlemen and ladies, Yura began using the translation device that made her words understood by all species. We are here to find peace. Peace, Shrai interrupted. He was the VIX warlord, commander of their military forces. His voice came out as harsh clicks and buzzes that the translator turned into words. The Scraith murdered our miners. They took what was ours. We want blood, not peace. Lies, roared a Scraith ambassador. Your forces attacked our colony first. The room erupted in shouting. Delegates stood up, waving their arms or claws or tentacles. Security guards moved closer, hands on their weapons. Daewon sat perfectly still. He did not try to quiet them. He just watched. His eyes moved from face to face, studying reactions, reading body language. Hana noticed he was paying special attention to Shrai and to Volalos. The meeting ended badly. No progress was made, as the delegates Left, Volas deliberately bumped into. Daewon, excuse me, little human. Valos said with a sneer, I did not see. You there, you are so small and quiet. Like prey trying not to be noticed. Daewon looked up at the massive Scraith. It's fine, he said softly, accidents happen. Volas laughed and walked away. Behind him, other aliens whispered and pointed at the weak human who could not even stand up for himself. That night, Hana found Daewon in the observation deck. He stood alone looking out at the stars. They treat you like garbage, she said. Angrily, you should report Velos for that behavior. Should I? Daewon asked. Yes, he disrespected Earth. Disrespected you, Hana. His voice was still soft, but something in it made her stop talking. Do you know why I was chosen for this mission? Because you're a skilled negotiator, he almost smiled. Sure. Let's say that. Before Hana could ask what he meant, alarms began blaring. Throughout the station, red lights flashed in the corridors. Daewon's calm expression did not change. What's happening? Hana shouted over the noise. Yura burst into the observation deck, her face pale. There's been an assassination. A Vic strike team killed the Scraith head ambassador. The station is falling apart. Through the windows, they could see explosions in other sections of the station. Gunfire echoed through the halls. The war between Vix and Scraith had come to Ashara's crown. We need to evacuate, Hana said, grabbing her tablet. I'll contact our ship. No, Daewon said. What? Sir, we have to leave. This is a war zone now. Not yet. More explosions rocked the station. They could hear screaming in the distance. Voss's voice came over the intercom, ordering all delegates to shelter in place, but it was chaos. The Vix forces were pushing deeper into the station. Scraith were fighting back. Civilians were caught in the middle. Jin Woo, a young human aide, ran into the room. He was barely 20 years old, fresh out of diplomatic training. Sir, the Vix are trying to take the weapons control room. If they get it, they can use the station's defense systems to destroy the Scraith ships. How many guards are defending it? Daewon asked. 12, but Velos was wounded in an ambush. The defense is falling apart. Yura looked at Daewon. We can't get involved in their war. Earth's position is neutral. Daewon walked to a wall panel and typed in a code. Hana watched as he sent a short encrypted message. She could not read it, but she saw it was marked with a strange designation. Protocol Blackfall. What is that? She asked. Daewon did not answer. He took off his diplomatic jacket and hung it carefully on a chair. Underneath, he wore a simple black shirt. Hana, take Yura and Jin Woo to the safe room in the human quarters. Lock the door. Do not open it for anyone except me. What are you going to do? My job. Your job is diplomacy. He finally looked directly at her. For the first time since she met him, she saw something in his eyes. It was not anger or fear. It was something cold and ancient and utterly terrifying. Not today, Daewon said quietly. Today. My job is something else. He walked toward the door. Outside, the sounds of battle grew louder. Sir, Hana called after him. You can't fight them alone. You're not a soldier. Daewon paused at the doorway. Without turning around, he said, You're right. I'm not a soldier. Then he disappeared into the corridor, moving silently into the chaos. And Hana realized with growing horror that she knew almost nothing about the quiet man she had been working with. Nothing at all. The station shook with another explosion. Hana, Yura, and Jin Woo locked themselves in the safe room as Day One had ordered. Through the security monitors they could see the fighting spreading through every level. Vic soldiers in black armor moved through corridors, their weapons cutting down anyone who resisted. Scraith defenders fought back with savage fury, but they were being pushed back. Where did he go? Jin Woo asked, scanning the camera feeds. I can't see Day One anywhere. He's probably hiding like we are, Yura said, but her voice was uncertain. He's a diplomat. What else could he do? Hana said nothing. She kept remembering the look in Day One's eyes, that cold, empty look. She opened her tablet and did something she probably should not do. She accessed Day One's personnel file. Most of it was standard information. Born in Seoul, excellent grades, joined the diplomatic corps 15 years ago. Perfect record, but there was a gap, a 5-year gap before he became a diplomat. That section of the file was locked behind security clearance. She did not have. She tried anyway. Her fingers flew across the tablet using tricks she had learned from a hacker friend back on Earth. The file resisted, then cracked open just a little. Most of it was still blocked out, covered in black bars that hid the words, but one phrase was visible. Former Terran Special Activities Division designation. Executioner. Hana's blood went cold. The Special Activities Division. Everyone on Earth knew that name, even if they pretended not to. During the corporate wars, when Earth's megacorporations fought each other for control, the SAD was the nightmare that both sides feared. They were not soldiers, they were hunters, assassins, people who made problems disappear. An executioner was not just a dramatic name, it was a job title. Oh. No, Hana whispered. No, no, no. What is it? Yura asked. Before Hana could answer, the monitors showed something that made them all freeze. A VIX strike team of 12 soldiers was moving through the diplomatic wing. They were heading straight for the weapons control room, where the last defenders were making their stand. The team moved with confidence. They were elite warriors, trained from birth to fight. Each one carried advanced weapons and wore armor that could stop most bullets. They clicked to each other in their language, laughing about how weak the station's defenses were. Then one of them stopped. He held up his hand. The team froze. Something was wrong. The corridor ahead was too quiet, too dark. Someone had cut the lights. The lead soldier activated his helmet lamp. The beam cut through the darkness, showing an empty hallway. Nothing moved, but he felt it, that old instinct that kept warriors alive. They were being watched. Spread out, he ordered in his clicking language. 5M spacing. Watch the he never finished. Something moved in the darkness, too fast to see clearly. There was a wet sound, and the lead soldier fell. His throat had been cut with surgical precision. The other VIX opened fire, their weapons lighting up the corridor with energy blasts, but they were shooting at shadows. Figure moved between them like smoke, like death itself. Another soldier fell. Then another. What is it? One of them screamed. What's killing us? In the safe room, Hana, Yura, and Jin Woo watched in frozen horror. The camera could barely track the movement. All they saw was VIC soldiers falling one by one, and between them a glimpse of a man in a black shirt, moving with impossible speed and grace. That's him, Jin Woo breathed. That's Day One. That's impossible, Yura said. No human can move like that, can fight like that, but it was him. The cameras Finally caught a clear shot. Day One stood in the middle of 6 dead Vic soldiers. He was not even breathing. Hard in his hand was something that looked like a metal pen, but the sharp end was covered in blue Vic's blood. He must have taken it from a desk somewhere. Just a pen. He had killed 6 elite alien warriors with a pen. The remaining Vic soldiers backed away, fear replacing their confidence. Their mandibles clicked frantically. Fall back, their commander ordered. Regroup. At Day One moved. One moment he was 10 m away, the next he was inside their formation. The fight lasted 5 seconds. When it ended, all 12 Vics lay dead or dying in the corridor. Day One knelt beside one who was still alive. He spoke in perfect Vic's language, his tone gentle. Where is Shrix? Where is your commander? The dying soldier clicked weakly. Central atrium, he commands from there. Thank you. Day One closed the soldier's eyes as he died. Then he stood and walked away, disappearing into the shadows again. What is he? Jinwoo whispered. Hana showed them the file fragment on her tablet. Yura read it, and when pale executioner, Yura read aloud. During the corporate wars, executioners were sent when someone absolutely had to die. They worked alone. They never failed. She looked up at the monitors. The records say they were the most dangerous humans ever trained. Each one had over 100 confirmed eliminations. How many did Dayan have? Jinwoo asked. Hana scrolled down. There, partially visible behind the black bars, was a number. Confirmed eliminations 2 bra. Over 200. The rest was blocked, but it was at least 200. He's been here for weeks, Hana said, her voice shaking. Weeks of meetings, and the whole time he was watching, learning the station layout, studying everyone. He said he was observing for diplomatic purposes, but he was planning. Yura finished in case something like this happened elsewhere on the station. Tamon was having a very bad day. He was a coalition intelligence officer assigned to monitor the negotiations. He was good at his job, thorough and careful. Right now he was locked in his office, watching his screens as the station tore itself apart. He had been analyzing all the delegates' files, looking for anything suspicious. Most were routine, but the human delegations' files bothered him. They were too clean, too perfect. He focused on Daewon's file. At first it looked fine, but Tamon had access to deeper records than Hana did. He entered his highest security clearance codes. The file opened, and Tamon's blood turned to ice. He was looking at a kill record, a list of names, dates, locations. Each entry was marked completed in red letters. The list went on and on, page after page. Politicians who needed to disappear, corporate executives who knew too much, enemy agents, traitors, all eliminated by one man. At the top of the file was a photo. It was Day One, but younger, 15 years younger. His face was harder than, his eyes colder. He wore black tactical gear and held a rifle with the casual ease of someone who had used it 1,000 times. Below the photo was a quote from Daewon's commanding officer. Agent Daewon is the most effective operative I have ever seen. He feels no rage, no hatred, no pleasure in the work. He simply executes the mission with perfect efficiency. This makes him more terrifying than any soldier who kills in anger. He is not a warrior. He is a force of nature. Tamon looked at the date the file was sealed, 15 years ago, right when Dayan joined the diplomatic corps. They didn't retire him, Tammin realized. Aloud, they repurposed him, sent him out as a diplomat, but kept his skills sharp. Just in case, his screen beeped. New footage was coming in from the security cameras. Time pulled it up and watched. Day 1 moving through the station. He was heading for the central atrium now, leaving a trail of dead Vic soldiers behind him. But what struck Timon was how he moved. No wasted motion, no hesitation. Every action had a purpose. This was not a man fighting for his life. This was a man doing a job he had done many times before. Tammin's communicator crackled. It was Voss, the security chief. He sounded weak and in pain. Tammin, are you seeing this? The human. Yes. What is he? Tam looked at the file on his screen, at the long list of completed eliminations. He's what happens when humans stop pretending to be civilized. On another monitor, Tammin watched as Day 1 entered a room full of Vic soldiers, 10 of them all armed. Ready. They saw him and opened fire. Day 1 moved between the energy blasts. Like he could see them coming, he used the environment around him, flipping tables for cover, using support pillars to shield himself. A ceremonial banner hung on the wall. He ripped the pole down and used it like a spear, the dull metal end somehow finding gaps in armor. With perfect precision, the fight was over in 90 seconds. Dayan stood alone in the room, surrounded by fallen enemies. He had one small cut on his arm. That was all. He looked directly at the camera. His face was calm. His eyes were empty. Then he spoke, his voice quiet but clear. Shrai, I know you're listening. I'm coming for you in the central atrium. Shrix heard those words. The mighty Vic's warlord, who had never known fear in battle, felt something cold crawl down his spine. Shrix paced in the central atrium like a caged predator. Around him stood his best warriors, 20 of them, all battle tested and loyal. They had taken control of the largest open space on the station, a huge area with multiple levels and walkways. From here, Shrix commanded his forces. From here, he would win this war. But the humans' words echoed in his mind. I'm coming for you, Commander. One of his officers clicked. Should we send more teams to stop him? No, Shrai said. Let him come. We will be ready. He was lying. He was not ready at all. Nobody was ready for what Day 1 had become. Sue ran through the corridors, her heart pounding. She was part of the human security detail, a former soldier who had signed up to protect Earth's diplomats. She thought it would be an easy job. She was wrong. She had been separated from the others when the fighting started. Now she was trying to reach the safe room where the other humans had gathered, but the path was blocked by fighting, so she took a detour through the maintenance tunnels. That's where she found him. Day 1 was checking his makeshift weapons, his back against a wall. He looked up as she approached, his hand moving to a defensive position. Before he recognized her, Sue, he said calmly, you should be in the safe room. So should you, sir. She stared at him. His black shirt was torn in places. There was blood on it, but none of it seemed to be his. I saw the security footage, what you did to those Vic soldiers. I'm sorry you had to see that. Sorry. She almost laughed, but it came out strange and high. Sir, I was a Marine for 8 years. I've seen combat. But what you did, that wasn't combat. That was, I don't even know what to call it. Efficient, Duan said quietly. He stood up and started walking. Come with me. I'll get you to safety. Where are You going after that to end this, Sue? Followed him through the tunnels, she had her service pistol drawn, watching for threats, but Dewan moved like he knew exactly where every enemy was. He would pause before corners, listen then. Either continue or take a different route. They encountered 4 VIX patrols each time Dewan spotted them first and led Soul away before they were seen. How do you know where they are? She whispered, breathing patterns, boot sounds, the smell of their weapons. Discharge, he said it like it was normal. You learn to notice everything when your life depends on it. They reached a junction. Ahead was the corridor that led to the human safe room. Behind was the route to the central atrium. Go. Dayan said, get to the others, let me come with you, you need backup. He looked at her with those calm, empty eyes. No, I don't. It wasn't arrogance. It was just a fact. Soul realized that having her along would only slow him down, might get her killed. She nodded and ran toward the safe room. Dawan went the other way toward Shrix. He moved through the station like a ghost. The layout was memorized perfectly. During his weeks of diplomatic meetings, he had walked every corridor, noted every service duct, every emergency exit. He had smiled and nodded at security briefings while memorizing guard rotations and weapon placements. He had been the perfect diplomat on the surface. Underneath, he had been preparing for war, because war always came eventually. Dawan had learned that lesson long ago. He reached the level above the central atrium and found a maintenance panel. Inside was a communications relay. He accessed it and tapped into the station-wide system. Then he began broadcasting recordings. The first was of a VIC's commander screaming as Dawan Huan eliminated his squad. The second was of another officer begging for mercy in his clicking language. The third was just the sounds of fighting, of VIX weapons firing uselessly, of bodies falling all across the station. VIX soldiers heard these broadcasts. They heard their comrades dying. They heard the silence that followed, and they began to understand something terrible. This human was not running away. He was hunting them. In the central atrium, Shrix heard the broadcasts too. His warriors shifted nervously, their mandibles clicking with anxiety. Stay focused, Shrix commanded. He is just one creature, one small human. We are many, we are strong. But doubt had crept in. They had thought humans were weak prey. Now they knew better. Dawan watched from the shadows. Above, the atrium was 5 stories tall, with walkways crisscrossing the open space. Shrix stood at the center of the ground floor, surrounded by his warriors. It was a strong defensive position. A frontal assault would be suicide. Good thing Dawan never did frontal assaults. He accessed the atrium's environmental controls. The lights dimmed, not all the way off, just enough to create shadows. The VIX looked around nervously, their weapons raised. Then Dewan spoke, his voice coming from the speakers all around them. Shrix, I want to make you an offer. What offer? Human Shri shouted at the ceiling. Single combat. You and me right now. If you win, I die. If I win, your forces surrender and we end this without more bloodshed. Shrix laughed, a harsh clicking sound. You think I am stupid? This is a trick. No trick, I'm right here. Dayan stepped out onto a walkway 3 levels up. He stood in plain sight, unarmed, his hands visible and empty. Come up and face me. Or are you afraid? The words hit exactly as intended. Shrix's pride flared. In Vic's culture, refusing a challenge was the ultimate shame. His warriors were watching. The entire station was watching through security feeds. I will crush you. Shrix snarled. He began climbing the stairs toward Daywin's level, his forearms flexing, his armor gleaming. Daywin waited patiently. When Shrix reached the walkway, they stood facing each other. The Vic's warlord was massive, easily twice Daywin's weight, with natural weapons and advanced armor. He looked at the small human and saw easy prey. He saw wrong. Shrix charged, all four arms reaching to grab and tear. Daywin moved not away, but forward and to the side, using Shrix's own momentum against him. His hand struck like a snake, fingers finding the weak point where Shrix's neck armor joined his helmet. It was a tiny gap barely visible. Daywin's strike was precise to the millimeter. Shry stumbled, his nervous system shocked. Before he could recover, Daywin was behind him, had grabbed one arm and used leverage to flip the massive alien over the railing. Shrix caught himself on the walkway edge, dangling above a four-story drop. His warriors below raised their weapons, ready to shoot. Daywin, don't, Daywin said quietly. He stood at the edge, looking down at Shrix. 1 foot hovered near the Vix's fingers. Tell them to stand down or you fall, and this continues. Shrix was terrified. This human moved like no creature he had ever fought. Fast, yes, but it was more than speed. It was like Daywin could predict every move before it happened. Stand down, Shry clicked to his warriors. Do not fire. Daywin reached down and impossibly began pulling Shrix up. The alien weighed over 400 lb, but Daywin pulled with steady strength until Shrix was back on the walkway. You spared me, Shry gasped. I don't want you dead, Daywin said. I want you to listen. He pulled out a data pad and threw it to Shrix. Look at that. Look at the communications I intercepted over the past 3 weeks. Shrix opened the pad. His eyes widened as he scrolled through the data, messages between his own officers and unknown contacts, supply records that didn't match what was reported, weapons shipments that came from a third party, not from Vic suppliers. Someone has been manipulating both sides, Daywin said, feeding you false information about Scraith attacks, probably doing the same to them. Someone wanted this war. Who? Shry demanded. I'm still tracking that, but it's someone inside the coalition, someone who profits from conflict. Volas appeared on the ground floor of the atrium, limping but alive. Behind him came Scraith warriors. They saw the Vic soldiers and raised their weapons, but Velos held up a hand. Wait. Velos called up to Daywin. What is happening here? A conversation, Daywin replied, one that we should all have. More aliens gathered. Word spread through the station. The fighting slowed as soldiers on both sides heard what was being revealed. Someone had played them all. Someone had turned them against each other. But who? In his office, Timon watched everything unfold. He was working on his own investigation, tracing the communications in Daywin's data. The trails were hidden well, but Tame was an expert at finding hidden things. There a connection, payments routed through false accounts, messages sent through encrypted channels, and at the center of it all, one name appeared again and again in the financial records. Admiral Thexus, a high-ranking coalition officer, a man trusted by everyone. Tamon's hands shook as he compiled the evidence, if he was right. This went deeper than anyone had imagined. Thews had been selling weapons to both sides, then arranging incidents to make them fight. The longer the war lasted, the more weapons he sold, the richer he became. He was about to send the data to Day One when his door burst open. 3 armed figures entered wearing coalition security uniforms, but Tamman knew they weren't real security. Their eyes were too cold, too focused. "Texas sent you," Tamman said calmly. The leader nodded. "You found something you shouldn't have." Tamman smiled sadly. "Too late, I already sent it." He had, in the atrium. Day One's data pad beeped. He looked at the new files and his expression didn't change, but inside, pieces clicked into place. "I know who did this," Dwan announced to the gathered crowd, "and now we're going to make sure he faces justice." The atrium fell silent as Day One projected the evidence onto the large display screens. Financial records, encrypted messages, weapons manifests. Every piece told the same story. Admiral Thexus had orchestrated everything. He sold weapons to both sides, Day One explained, his voice calm and clear. Then he arranged incidents to make you blame each other. The murdered miners, the destroyed colony, all of it staged by his agents. Shriek stared at the data, his mandibles clicking in rage. "That Scraith ambassador who was killed. We thought the Scraith did it too. Themselves to frame us. It was Thews's people." Dwan confirmed. "He needed you to attack this station. He needed chaos. Because during chaos, nobody notices money disappearing. Nobody audits weapon shipments." Vilas limped forward, his scales pale with shock. "I called you prey. I mocked you." He looked up at Day One with new understanding. "But you were working this case the whole time. During all those boring meetings, all those hours of listening to us argue. You were hunting." "Yes," Dwan said simply. A Vix warrior spoke up, his voice uncertain. "But you are human. Humans are supposed to be weak. We have senior diplomats. They smile and talk, but they cannot fight." Dwan's expression did not change. "We can fight. We just prefer not to." He looked at the bodies of the Vix soldiers he had killed. "Every life I take weighs on me. Even now, even after everything. But I will not let innocent people die when I can stop it." Hana, Yura, and Jin Woo entered the atrium. Sol was with them. They had watched everything on the monitors and decided to come out. Hana approached Day One slowly. "You knew from the beginning, didn't you?" she asked. "That's why you were so calm, why you watched everything so carefully." "I suspected," Day One admitted. "The conflict was too convenient, too perfectly timed. Someone was pulling strings. I just needed to find out who." "Why didn't you tell us?" "Because if I had told you, you would have acted differently, and whoever was watching would have known I was on to them. I needed them to think I was just another useless diplomat." Jin Woo shook his head in amazement. "All those times we thought you weren't doing anything. You were building a case, learning the station, preparing, always prepare." Day One said, "Hope you never need to use it, but be ready if you do." A communication channel opened. The face of Admiral Thexus appeared on the screens. He was a krill, a species that looked like grayskin humanoids with 3 eyes. His middle eye, the one that showed his emotional state, was flickering with anger. "Day One, Thews said, his voice smooth despite his anger, "you have made serious accusations against a coalition officer. I hope you Have proof I do, Day One gestured to. The screen's full of evidence, I have. Your financial records, I have messages. From your agents, I have testimony from. Tammin, who your hired killers just murdered in his office, that made everyone gasp. Tammin was dead. Coalition intelligence officer killed by other coalition agents. Fuse's middle eye went dark. In Krill culture that meant he had given up pretending. Very clever human. You are more dangerous than the report suggested. You read my file. Day One said it was not a question. Of course, when Earth sent in executioner as a diplomat, I paid attention, but I thought you had gone soft. 15 years of talking instead of killing. I thought you had lost your edge. You thought wrong. Fuse laughed. A cold sound, perhaps, but you have a problem. Executioner, I am on a coalition battleship with 200 soldiers. You are on a damaged station with limited resources. What will you do? Come for me. If I have to, I would like to see you try, but I think instead I will destroy the station. No witnesses, no evidence, just another tragic casualty of the Vix Scraith War. The screen went dark. Alarms began blaring. Immediately, the station's sensors had detected something terrible. The Texas's battleship was charging its main weapons. How long? Velos demanded of his security team. 5 minutes until they can fire. A technician reported. Their weapons will tear through our shields. The station will break apart. Panic spread through the crowd, but Dewan remained calm. He turned to Shrix. How many ships do you have nearby? 3 cruisers, Shrix said, but they are not military vessels. They cannot fight a battleship. Don't need them to fight. Need them to block. Day One activated his communicator. This is human diplomat Day One. Authorization code Blackfall 7. I am requesting immediate military support. Under Coalition Defense Protocol 9. New voice came through the speakers. It was human with an Earth accent. Blackfall confirmed the UES Valor is 3 minutes out. Captain Bang Ho responding. On the screens, a human warship appeared. From faster-than-light travel, it was smaller than Fuse's battleship, but clearly built for combat. Its weapons were already hot. Fuse's face reappeared, now showing genuine surprise. You called in a human warship. How? Protocol Blackfall. Daywin said it's a standing order. When an executioner activates it, Earth sends immediate military support. We established it after the corporate wars because sometimes diplomacy needs a big stick backing it up. Captain Bongho's voice came through clearly. Admiral Thexus, you are ordered to stand down. Power down your weapons or we will fire. 1 human ship against a coalition battleship. Fuse sneered. You are outgunned. Maybe, Bianho said, but I don't need to destroy you. I just need to. Your weapons and human targeting systems are very, very good. Care to test that theory? A tense silence filled the void of space. Everyone watched the screens. The battleship's weapons were still charged, but so were the Valor's. Then Shrix did something unexpected. He opened a channel to his 3 cruisers. Move to intercept positions. If the Admiral fires, block the shot with your hulls. Commander, one of his captains, protested. That will destroy us, I know. Do it anyway. We have been used, manipulated, made to kill innocent people. I will not let this human and his people die because of our mistakes. The Vix cruisers moved into position. They were not warships, but they were large enough to absorb some of the Battleships fire. It would still destroy them, but it might give the station's population time to evacuate. Vila saw what Shrix was doing. He opened his own channel, all Scraith. Vessels in range do the same, protect the station. 2 Scrath destroyers appeared and joined the defensive formation. Now they faced a choice: fire on the station and kill hundreds of his own people along with the witnesses, or surrender and face justice. Daewon spoke into the silence. You have nowhere to go. Thexus, your conspiracy is exposed. Your profits are frozen. Your hired agents are being arrested. Across the coalition, it's over on his bridge. Thews looked at the ships surrounding him. He looked at his tactical display. He could still fire, could still destroy the station, but he would be destroyed immediately after. And for what? The money was gone. Plan was ruined. His middle eye flickered, showing resignation. I surrender. The battleship's weapons powered down. Coalition security ships began arriving to take the into custody. The immediate danger was over. In the atrium, everyone stood in stunned silent. Then slowly Vix and Scraith began to look at each other differently. They had been enemies moments ago. Now they had stood together to protect the same people. Shrix approached Daewon. The massive Vix warlord lowered himself in a gesture of deep respect. I mocked you, human, called you weak. I was a fool. You didn't know. Daewon said gently. No, but I should have seen. The truly dangerous hunters do not roar. They move in silence like you. Vilas came forward too. You saved us all. Saved me. Even though I treated you with disrespect. His scales changed color, showing shame. I called you prey. You are the apex predator who walks among us and lets us live. I'm not a predator, Daewon said quietly. I'm just someone who learned to fight when I had no choice, and who learned to stop fighting when I finally had a choice. He looked at all the aliens gathered around him, Vix and Scraith, standing side by side now. Instead of killing each other, you were all victims of Thexus's manipulation. You are not enemies. You never were. Don't let anger make you forget that. Yura stepped forward. Daewon is right. The real enemy was greed and manipulation. Now that we know the truth, there is no reason for conflict. Shrix and the Scraith ambassador looked at each other. Slowly, carefully, they approached each other. Then, in a gesture that would have been impossible an hour ago, they bowed to each other. Peace, the ambassador asked. Peace, Shrix agreed. The crowd erupted in relief and celebration, but Daewon simply walked to a quiet corner and sat down. The weight of what he had done was settling on him. The Vix soldiers he had killed, the violence he had unleashed, it had been necessary. It had saved lives, but it still hurt. Hana found him there. She sat beside him, not speaking at first. Then she said, "Are you okay?" "No," Daewon admitted. "I'm never okay after something like this, but you're a hero. You saved everyone." He looked at her with tired eyes. "Heroes don't have a body count like mine, Hana. I'm just someone who does what needs to be done. That doesn't make it right, it just makes it necessary. Will you go back to being a diplomat? Now, if they'll let me, I prefer talking to fighting. Always have." He managed a small sad smile. "But now everyone knows what I can do. That changes things." Above them the stars shone cold and eternal. The war was over. Justice would be served, but Daewon knew the truth. They would never look at him the same Way again, never see just a quiet diplomat, now they saw the executioner. And that would follow him forever. 3 days passed, the station was being repaired, the dead were honored, and day one was being talked about across the entire galaxy. The security footage had leaked somehow. Videos of him fighting through the VIX forces spread through every coalition world. Aliens who had never heard of Earth suddenly knew about humans, about what they could do when pushed too far. Some called him a hero. Some called him a monster. Day one called himself tired. He stood in the repaired conference room where negotiations were starting again. But everything was different now. When he entered, every alien in the room stood up. They did not bow exactly, but they showed respect in their own ways. Lowered eyes, quiet voices, careful movements. Shrix was there, no longer warlord, but a diplomatic representative of his people. The Scraith had sent new ambassadors, and at the head of the table waiting for day one was an empty chair with a view of everyone. The power, position, the place of honor, they were giving it to him. Day one looked at that chair and then walked past it. He sat in his old seat, the one he had used before. Everything happened, the quiet seat in the corner where he could watch and listen. I am here to help you make peace, he said simply, not to lead you. That is your job. Shrix's mandibles clicked in what might have been approval. You could demand anything right now, human. We would give it, but you ask for nothing. I ask that you remember what happened, that you talk instead of fight, that you question when someone tries to make you hate each other. Duin looked around the table. That's all. The Scraith ambassador spoke. Earth has earned a permanent seat on the Coalition Security Council. We will vote for this. We owe you that much, and the VIX agree. Shrix added, your species deserves recognition for what you have done. Daywin nodded slowly. That was something. At least Earth's position in the galaxy would be stronger now, safer. Maybe that made the violence worth it. Maybe. The negotiations proceeded. This time both sides actually listened to each other. They found compromises. They agreed to share the disputed territory and develop it together. It took 6 hours, but they reached a real peace agreement. When it was done, Shrix approached Duin privately. I have a question. Why'd you spare me? On that walkway you could have let me fall. Everything would have been simpler, because you were not the real enemy, Duin said. You were a tool being used by the, because everyone deserves a chance to choose better. In VIX culture we have a saying, the hunter who shows mercy is remembered forever. The hunter who shows none is forgotten quickly. You will be remembered, Daywin. I'd rather be forgotten, Daywin said honestly, but I'll settle for being respected enough that we don't have to do this again. That evening, the human team gathered in their quarters. Hana had spent the day fielding communication requests. Every news service in the galaxy wanted to interview Daywin. Every military academy wanted him to speak. Every government wanted to know more about human combat capabilities. They are calling you the quiet executioner now, Hana said, showing him her tablet. There are songs about you. Paintings. One VIX artist made a statue. Daywin grimaced. Please tell me they're not selling merchandise. Actually, Yura held up her tablet. Someone is selling action figures. They got your face wrong though. Made you look angry. You never look angry. Because I'm not angry, Duin said. Anger makes you sloppy. Anger makes you Stupid, I just did what needed to be done. Jinwoo spoke up from the corner. Sir, can I ask you something? Of course. When you were doing what you did before as an executioner, did you ever feel bad about it? Doon was quiet for a long moment, then he said, every single time, every life I took, I remembered their face, remembered their name if I knew it. Because the moment you stop caring, the moment it becomes easy, that's when you stop being human. That's when you become the monster, but you still did it, yes. Because someone had to, because if I didn't, more innocent people would die. That's the burden of people like me. We do the terrible things so others don't have to. Sue entered the room. She had been at a security briefing with Volas. You need to hear this. The coalition is updating their threat assessment files. Earth was listed as low priority for military concerns. They just changed it. To what? Yura asked. Apex tier, the same level as the Kryl Empire and the Vrex Dominion, two of the most powerful military forces in the galaxy. Sol looked at Daewon. Because of you. Because they saw what one human could do. Now they're wondering what an army of humans could do. That will make diplomacy easier, Hana said thoughtfully. People negotiate more honestly when they're afraid of the alternative. Fear is a poor foundation for peace. Daewon said, but it's better than nothing. A chime sounded. Captain Byung-ho from the UES Valor was requesting a video call. Daewon accepted. The captain's face appeared on the screen. He was older with gray in his hair and scars on his face. Agent Daewon, Byung-ho said formally. Good to see you again. You know him? Hana asked. We worked together during the corporate wars, Byung-ho explained. Back when Taiwan was active, he saved my unit more times than I can count. I was doing my job. Daewon said. You went beyond your job every time. Byung-ho's expression became serious. I'm here to tell you that Earth Command is very interested in your situation. They want to know if you'll accept a new position. What position? Special Envoy for Crisis Situations. Basically, you would be our diplomatic representative for the worst problems, the conflicts that might turn violent. You would have full authority to negotiate and, if necessary, to use Protocol Blackfall. Daewon was quiet. Everyone in the room looked at him, waiting for his answer. Finally he said, that would mean more fighting, more killing. Maybe, Byung-ho admitted, or maybe your reputation would be enough. Maybe just knowing you're there would make people think twice before starting wars. He has a point, Yura said. You have become Symbol, the human who stopped a war, who exposed corruption, who showed that we are not weak but choose peace anyway. Daewon thought about it. He thought about the Vic soldiers he had killed. He thought about the peace that was made. He thought about all the future conflicts that might be avoided because people now knew what humans were capable of. I'll do it, he said finally, on one condition. My team comes with me. Hana, Yura, Jinwoo, Sol, we do this together. Agreed, Byung-ho said. Earth needs people like all of you. Welcome to the team. Special Envoy. The call ended. Jinwoo was grinning. Hana looked nervous but determined. Sue nodded with military precision. Yura simply smiled. This is going to be interesting, Yura said. It's going to be dangerous, Daewon corrected, but necessary. Later that night, Daewon stood alone. The observation deck, the same place where just days ago the war had started. Hana found him there just like before. Can't sleep, she asked, thinking. Doing said, about what comes next. Do you regret what you did, what you had to become again? Every day, he said honestly, but I don't regret the results. Peace instead of war, lives saved, justice served. Those things matter. The galaxy sees you differently now. I know they see a weapon, a killer. Maybe that's all I am. No, Hana said firmly, you are someone who carries a burden so others don't have to, someone who uses violence only when every other option is exhausted, someone who feels the weight of every life you take. She stood beside him. That's not a monster, that's a guardian. Day One looked at her surprised. You really believe that? I saw you after the fighting ended. You weren't celebrating. You were mourning, even though you saved us all. You were sad for the enemies you killed. Only a good person would feel that way. They stood together in silence, watching the stars. Ships were coming and going from the station now. Coalition vessels bringing investigators to gather evidence against the transport ships carrying journalists who wanted the story, and slowly, carefully, Vix and Scraith ships beginning to trade with each other. A new era was beginning, an era where humans were not ignored or mocked, where Earth had a real voice in galactic affairs, but it had been bought with blood and violence. Do you think it was worth it? Hana asked softly. Ask me again in 10 years, Duan said. If this peace holds, if the lives I took led to lives being saved, then maybe I can say yes. A message came through on his communicator. It was from Velos, simple and direct. Thank you, Hunter. May we never meet as enemies. Dayan smiled slightly. It was not much, but it was something. The next morning they prepared to leave. The station's crew lined up to see them off. Aliens of a dozen different species, all showing respect in their own ways. Shrix was there along with the Scraith ambassadors. You changed everything, Shrix said. Before you came, we only knew how to hate each other. Now we know we can work together. Remember that, Duan said, when things get difficult again, because they will. Peace is harder than war. It requires patience and compromise, but it's worth it. We will remember. The galaxy will remember. They mocked the quiet human. Shrix's mandibles clicked in what might have been a smile. They learned he was the executioner, but more importantly, they learned he only executes when there is no other choice. As they boarded their transport ship, Yura said, you know what's funny? You wanted to be forgotten. Instead, you're going to be famous across the galaxy, famous for the wrong reasons. Duan said. No, Jin Wu interjected. Famous for the right reasons. You showed them that humans want peace, but we won't be victims. We won't be pushed around. We'll fight if we have to, but we'd rather talk, Su added. That's a good reputation to have. The transport ship pulled away from Ashara's crown. Daywin looked back at the station one last time. It was whole again, repaired and busy. Vix and Scraith were walking the same corridors without violence. Maybe he was wrong. Maybe the killing had been worth it. Somewhere in Coalition space, a new file was being distributed to every military command, every intelligence agency, every government. It was marked priority alert and had one simple message: species assessment update. Humanity, Earth, previous classification minor, diplomatic presence, new classification, apex tier capability, diplomatic. Protocols remain primary contact method. Military engagement not recommended. Note, humans demonstrate preference for peaceful resolution but possess extreme combat efficiency when required. Approach with respect, do not mistake their choice of peace for inability to wage war. And underneath in smaller text, special note, human designation. Executioner refers to elite operatives with over 200 confirmed eliminations. Current intel suggests Earth has deployed at least one such operative in diplomatic roles, unknown how many others exist. Exercise extreme caution. The quiet human had been mocked, then he had been feared, now finally he was understood. He was not a monster or a hero, he was simply human, and that, as the galaxy was learning, was more than enough.